Hello, and welcome to this webinar on frequently asked questions from parents in regard to their child's fussy eating. My name is Alison Booth, and I'm one of the community paediatric dietitians here in Somerset. So one of the very common questions that I have from parents is that they've tried all the suggestions, but nothing works. What can you do? In particular, keep going. Don't lose heart. There is no quick fix, and there's nothing that is going to hurry this along. Often it is time. Try to keep introducing foods, new foods, and rewarding any positive behaviour, and only offer what you would like your child to eat in the long run. And remember that you may need to introduce the same food 25 times before it's accepted. So that if you think about it, that is once a week for 6 months. So again, it's time that your child will need to get used to that food. One of the things that you might like to do is try a sharing plate away from meal times. So this is useful if you've got a child who is anxious about trying a food and they don't want the pressure of eating that food at meal times. So having a sharing plate away from meal times is helpful. And similarly, you might like to try some messy play, again away from meal times where there's no pressure to cook, but also involve your child with shopping, food preparation, things that they can get their hands messy with as well. So things like making dough or fish cakes. You might also like to ask your child what they'd like to try next. Try to keep them involved in the whole process. And it's also helpful if your child keeps a notebook so that you can look back and see how well you've done. And it may be that at the beginning of the notebook, you've got a list of foods that your child would like to try. And at the back, you've got a list of things that your child has enjoyed and you can now introduce, and maybe somewhere in the middle, a list of things that you've tried and your child is not keen on at the moment, but would like to try again. So a lot of this is very much keep trying and just keep going. Another common question is around different parental views. And sometimes this is because parents live in separate houses, but not always. And this is one of us wants to be strict while my partner wants us to be more relaxed. And it is really important to note that different approaches from different family members can definitely affect your child's ability to understand what is going on around food, and they can become very confused. It's a good idea to take some time out and discuss the strategy that you're going to have as a family so that you know what you're going to do and how you're going to react in different situations, and very much try to avoid conflict or arguing in front of your child, especially around food. Some families find it very helpful to write down a set of rules so that they can be prompted when times are more challenging. So that might be what happens if my child asks for a meal or a snack outside the times that we are going to have a meal or a snack. So if you write it down, then you can refer to it, and it's much less about you saying no, it's about what actually the set of rules say. So lots of parents are concerned about food waste. This is a common question. I'm concerned about offering new foods as I cannot afford to waste food. One of the ways to try and avoid that is by offering your child the same food that you all eat as a family so that there's no wastage. And in particular, if you're not eating together, you might like to keep some food back from the evening before so that you can offer your child that particular food, again, so that you're not wasting it or that you're not spending time cooking something special. And some parents find it really helpful to use your freezer, and they batch cook things and then freeze them in small portions in ice cube trays, and then they can take out a very small amount, especially if you're at the beginning of this process with offering your child new food. Most parents are worried that their child isn't getting enough vitamins and minerals. And again, I talk about this in one of the other webinars, the food group webinar, but as a little summary, I would encourage your child to have fortified cereal once or twice a day, and try to choose those which are fortified with 8 milligrams of iron per 100 grams of food. So check the labels to see whether or not that particular cereal contains iron. And the Arla Big Milk, although it's marketed for children, it is perfectly fine for older children to have. It is basically a fortified full-fat cow's milk. And you might wish to offer your child a smoothie or fruit juice, or it might even be mixed in with vegetable juice, in particular if they have a limited intake of fruit and vegetables. And try to think of other ways that you can give these. So they can be frozen, or you can make them into jellies. It doesn't always have to be as the food is presented to you. And it's also a good idea to buy an over-the-counter vitamin and mineral supplement from the supermarket. Just check that it contains iron and vitamin D, and also calcium if your child's dairy intake is low. So for children that have got challenging behaviour at meal times, try to set boundaries around meal times and explain to your child what is acceptable and unacceptable behaviour. So try to have a firm but fair approach and try not to get upset or angry. Try to offer a love it, like it, learn it approach, really, so that there is at least something from the meal that your child will eat. And these needs to be age appropriate portions. A love it is a food that your child will always eat. A like it is a bit more hit and miss. And a learn it food is a new food. Some children will throw their plate onto the floor. So if that is the case, this is all around again, boundary setting, then allow them to get down from the table as they're clearly not hungry, and then offer the next meal or snack as usual. So again, all boundaries around food behaviour. And also, if your child doesn't like things touching, then don't think about that as being a big thing. Just offer the food on separate plates if that's more acceptable. And then at a later date, you can bring them all together on the same plate. So try not to sweat the little things. And ignore the poor behaviour and praise the good behaviour that you want to encourage, but by all, the overarching thing is to try and stay calm. So that is the end of this webinar. I hope that was useful, and thank you very much for listening.